Hello and welcome to Forever Rugby on Forever Sports. And some very interesting news today on a Friday, a bit of breaking news with Springbok alignment camps set to begin next week. The first list of players has been, not necessarily released or leaked, but we have seen now a list of players that have been invited to the alignment camps, which will be taking place next week. In fact, it's the first Springbok conference of the year. On Sunday, we will be chatting to Jacques Ninaba, so of course we'll have that on the channel, and there's lots to look forward to as we start to build up towards the international season after months of URC action. And the URC action, which in my opinion is getting a lot better, we are now moving towards international action, and the Springboks will be in action during sort of July after the URC season stuff. So still a couple of months to go, but we are sort of moving towards there. But the big news is that no Evan ROOS and no GELANT in this list of leaked alignment camp players. Now, we're going to dissect it a little bit. I'm going to talk about a couple of players who are unlucky to miss out. Now, the source of this is Mark Kierhain, who's published on his personal website a list of players from the Stormers and from the Bulls who have been invited to the alignment camps. Now, there's no list as far as we can find of the Lions and the Sharks players. If there are any Lions players, for example, because last year there's not a single player currently within the Lions who was part of the box squad last year. Waratahs Similani, I think, is the only player who was even part of sort of alignment camps and stuff like that. So if you look at the players that have been invited, is from the Stormers, it's Steven Kitsoff, Frans Mahura, Skara Intabeni, Salman Murat, Marvin Ori, Hershey Yankees, Damian Willemse. No Evan ROOS, no GELANT. Then for the Bulls, it's Johan Krabala, Ruan Nokia, Alwick Lowe, and Johan Goosen. So let's sort of dissect this. Now, first of all, actually, before we even dissect it, the one thing I will say is that the one thing that we do need to do as Springbok fans, as much as we might not be happy, is we obviously, this coaching staff have never let us down, really. So we need to obviously back the decisions and stuff like that. And it's always, not to say that we should just blindly follow them, but there's always a plan. There's always a plan with Jacques and Rassi. So, and the one thing that you do need to obviously remember is that just because they're not part of the alignment camp doesn't mean they can't actually be called up. The purpose of alignment camps are it's very much to align everybody with a vision, with how they play, what you need to be doing to getting into the sides, what the expectations are. So it is very much a precursor to playing for the Springboks, but it's not necessarily a requirement. You know, it's not a case of if you do not go to alignment camp, you will not play with the Springboks this year. That's not the case. So these players can still make the side. But in terms of big players missed, so let's go through it. So first of all, I think Evan ROOS is the hot sort of name at the moment, and a lot of Stormers fans, a lot of South African fans will be very upset that he hasn't been selected. Now, if we had to look at why he hasn't been selected, I think the major sort of things counting against him is that South Africa are incredibly blessed with loose forward talent. We know this. There's so many loose forwards out there now. If you're looking at the current squad last year, for example, that squad did not have, for example, a Pieter-Steph du Toit, who will now be involved again this year. So the inclusion of Alwick Lowe, for example, is an additional loose forward over and above Pieter-Steph du Toit, who will be joining the squad. And we also don't know if there have been any new inclusions from the Sharks or the Lions, for example. If Vince Tuka's passport, for example, they might win, not that we probably know, but if that's come through and he's been invited to a alignment camp, for example, because I think somebody like that's been pretty big. We don't know if any of the Sharks players who weren't part of the box squads have been called up to the alignment camps. So it is a very strange exclusion not to have Evan ROOS because he has been in terrific form. It also is no Marcel Coetzee, which is quite a big call as well because he's also been playing some fantastic rugby. But as I said, the only thing I will say is that there's just so many loose forwards. Even if you were to call up Marcel Coetzee and Evan ROOS, there are other players as well who are deserving for a call up. As I said, Vince Tuka, if he has South African paperwork, is on the back of three out of the last 4 matches he's received the Man of the Match award for the Lions. And part of the entire Lions resurgence has been down to his Man of the Match performances. So there is an abundance of loose forwards across this country. It's very difficult to sort of select them. So that's probably the biggest thing that is counting against Evan ROOS is the fact that there just are so many players. I personally still would have picked him. I still would have had him within the alignment squad because I think that he's playing too well to he will play for Springboks one day. I think that's not a case of if, it's more of a case of when. I think that we've got a very special group of young loose forwards coming through that are going to be able to quite easily replace the current crop, which is pretty impressive when you think that the current crop includes Dwayne Vermeulen, Peter Steph, former World Player of the Year, Siya Kolisi, who is a World Player of the Year nominee and current South African Player of the Year. But I still think we've got the talent to replace them. For me, the biggest exclusion and weird inclusion is to exclude Warwick GELANT, who has been absolutely sensational for the Stormers. He has been the best South African fullback for the last few months, and no one's coming close. Apelele Fassi had a couple of good games, currently injured. Kieran Horn's been playing well for the Lions, but in South Africa, and then you've got lots of different options. Cody Lawrence is in pretty decent touch at the moment. Before that, Creel who's playing pretty well. I don't think anyone is playing the type of rugby that Warwick GELANT is playing at the Stormers at the moment. And it's the exact type of rugby that you'd actually want a Vili replacement to do, because if you look at what he's doing, he's playing that playmaker role for the Stormers. He's creating so much. At once, the form he showed in December, January, he could not do anything wrong. Every single time he got the ball, he was creating something, doing something, getting them out of a pressure situation. So I personally think that's a much bigger exclusion than Evan Roos's, especially because there's so much issues surrounding the number 15. The fact that people are calling for Vili to be replaced, and he is coming to the end of his career. So given the fact that there is such an apparent issue at number 15 and at fullback, how could you then not include Warwick GELANT, who, first of all, take away his current form and stuff like that, maybe he was just playing reasonable rugby. He's a World Cup winner. He was part of the squad. The only reason he wasn't part of the squad was because of an injury, and he's come back from an injury, and he's probably playing the best rugby of his career. So I don't understand how you go from being a World Cup winner in the squad for the World Cup, get injured, come back, play your best rugby, and you still can't get into a squad where no 15 has actually really come in and said, I'm part of the squad. Apelele Fassi has come in, but he's played on the wing. So no one's really come in and replaced Warwick GELANT within the squad. But he still can't make the alignment cap. So that one for me is the biggest exclusion. And then the weirdest inclusion for me continues to be Johan Goosen. And I understand that he's playing very good rugby. He's out for the foreseeable future. Nobody even knows when he's going to be back. We cannot, as an international, this is going to be a big call. Johan Goosen has no international future as far as I'm concerned. And I know he's still young. And I know that on his day, he can be one of the best flower halves in the country. But we're talking about a man who turns 30 in July and is almost out for 6 to 7 months every calendar year. Which means that he's literally, mathematically, he's out every second week. He's out every second. That's the occasion. He plays 4, 5, 6 matches in a row and he gets injured and that he can't come back. I don't see the value in trying to invest in somebody like that. I'm interested to see if any other flower halves have been called up. For example, I'm interested to see if Jordan Hendricks has been called up. We know now that Chris Smith has not been given the opportunity. So for me, I think there has to be, because Monde Steyn's retired, there has to be more flower halves coming into the Springbok system. It's not Manie Libbok, who's probably been the form flower half in the last couple of weeks for the Stormers. So I'm very interested to see if Jordan Hendricks has been added to the lineman camp. He's very young, but we need to start looking at flower halves. And the fact that Manie Libbok or Chris Smith have confirmed and not been part of the lineman camps means that for me, either Jordan Hendricks or a Boeta Chamberlain has to have been within the talks, because we need to find a flower half. But as soon as we know the Lions and the Sharks members of the squad, we will let you guys know. Please let me know what you think about the squad, or the players invited, down in the comments below. This is purely for South African-based players. There will be a overseas-based alignment camp in the future as well. But yeah, let me know what you think down in the comments below. Please do smash like on the video and subscribe to the channel as well. Thank you very much for watching. My name is Steven. I'll chat to you soon.